we are so excited about this month because this month's series is for the world shakers and history makers. It's for you dreamers out there who have big dreams, you have passions and desires to do something big with your life. This month is for you. You do not want to miss any Renovate show this month. And we're ecstatic tonight. Because we have an amazing guest, brother, family. And tonight we have with us from the Empowerment Center in Douglas, Georgia, Pastor Frank Bussey.
Yes.
Amen. Glad to be here, sir.
Yeah, and so it is our joy to have you on our very first night of this series, Pioneer.
Wow, we get started tonight. So great, awesome. I'm excited about it.
You get to start it off. Now, I know Ashley, as we were talking earlier, man, we were encouraging each other in the Lord.
Some church.
Man, we've already started having church, and
That's right.
So we are stirred up. We are ready to go. But Pastor Frank, would you let everyone know kind of who you are, how you even begin your relationship with Jesus Christ, and that way the audience know you a little better.
Oh man, Frank Bussey, of course. I'm a son. I'm a PK kid. I'm a son of a pastor. You know, my father, he's gone on. He transitioned, but church has always been my destiny. I didn't always know it. You know, I was chasing other things, but I knew from a child that I would one day be in this position, even though I didn't want it. You know, and it was years later, after having tried so many other things and trying to find what everybody's calling success and running into brick road after brick road. I had a vision one night, and in this vision, this long line, and I'm in this long line, and I got ready to get out of the line. This man grabbed me by the arm and said, "Get back in the line." And I'm trying to figure out where this line was headed. And so from that vision, I'm looking at him, and finally he come back to me later. He pulls me out of the line. He said, "Have you ever wondered why everything you've ever tried to do has failed?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, whenever God has his hands on you and whenever God has a plan for your life, he won't allow anything else to detour that or derail it." And so he said, "But God getting ready to remove something out of your life now if you don't make this move," basically what he was telling me in this vision. And all I could think about was my wife, but at the time she wasn't my wife. We were shacking, we were doing that thing, And I said, "Who? Keisha?" And I remember in the vision, I'm calling her name out. And he didn't say yes, he didn't say no, but in my heart, I knew that that's what he was saying. And so I said, "Well, I don't know how to be saved. I don't know how to be saved." This is all going on in this vision. So then he takes me to this tree, and it was beside this river. And in this river, I seen all these things look like diamonds and crystals or something, and because it was just sparkling and all these big roots running in and out of the ground. And there was a pile of rocks right beside it. And so he kneels me by this pile of rocks, and he leads me to the Lord. And I said, "Well, what's next?" And so he said, "I'll be back to tell you." And so when I stayed by those rocks, and he came back, and he puts me into this ship, and the ship starts going through the city, and people filled up with this ship filled up with people. And all of a sudden the sky opens up, and I seen people going up into the sky, and I was trying to go too, but I couldn't. And when the sky closed, I looked over the ship, and more people were coming. And I woke up out of the vision. It scared me so bad, I went to church and got saved. But I found out, though, later, the same vision that I saw, even though I didn't know the Bible at the time, was actually in the Bible. That tree planted by the river where it had like crystals is actually in the book of Revelation. So that was amazing to me, and I knew then God was real.
And that was it, huh?
That was it. And so that was my turning point to where I knew that it was time to accept that call.
That's so awesome.
Now, you mentioned the word, when you're sharing your story, you mentioned the word success. For all of those who are watching or will be watching later, who they really desire to be successful in life, could you define for them what success actually is?
Success to me is happily pursuing what you believe you've been put on this earth to pursue. And that is something that seems to have evaded a lot of people, and they find themselves chasing after so many things like I was at one point, and it was so empty. Even before I came to the Lord, the places we were going, you know, clubs or different things. I wasn't a dancer or anything, but I would go hang out with people.
Yeah.
But there was the joy of all of that left. There was nothing in it anymore. There was no. You would go, but then you get back home and you're miserable. You're still lonely. You're still empty. There's still a void there. And so now that I'm doing what I've been running from the whole time, it's like the best job on the planet. I found true success in pursuing what I believe I've been placed on this earth to do. And with that, I believe until a person can find what it is that God has called them to do, they will never really know the true measure of success, because it's not in money. Because I hope you don't get into pastoring for money, because unless you know, God,
You might be disappointed.
yeah, you just might be disappointed, because I know they think that, but it's not a lot of that in it. You know, you're gonna have to get it from some other places.
That's right. So awesome. Well, you can tell that the things that the Lord has shown you has really resonated in your life and in your heart, and it's so evident to see, you know, godly success, you know, operating in your church and in the people that you're pouring into. So it's so exciting. That's so awesome.
So success, in order for someone to even begin on a journey towards success, would you say that they would need to first start a relationship with the one who created them? Because apart from that, how would you even know where to start?
Absolutely. I think the first way of measuring success is to find out what is it that you're passionate about. And with me, business. I love business. Here at our ministry, one of the things that I desire to do is to train and develop entrepreneurs. I love business, but business has been in my bloodline for years. I was a kid that would take candy apples, what my grandma would make, and parched peanuts and boiled peanuts, and I would go door to door to sell them.
Wow.
And so when I was in middle school, I would go early in the morning, go by the store, I'd buy a bunch of candy, because I know there were some kids that couldn't go to the store. Their parents were dropping them off, or the bus was dropping them off. So every time the bell rang, I opened the locker and I sell candy. So I was making money, you know, when I was in elementary school and in middle school, because business has always been my passion. And so even though I pastor now, my true passion is business. I love business, and to really find success, or begin to look for success, what's that passion? Because whatever your passion is going to be somewhat leading to what God is pouring into. Unless, you know, as long as, you know, you understand what I'm saying, if it's godly. You know, I'm not saying you're passionate about doing something that's ungodly, but I'm saying that one thing that you're passionate about, you know, is going to, most of the time, be something that's going to lead to your success. It's going to lead to that grace of God on your life that you'll be able to do with ease.
I love that. I love that, because it's so true. What you're passionate about, you're going to work hard at. There's going to be integrity in that area, and where there's integrity and hard work, there's drive, and drive
Absolutely.
always follows with success, and success comes with money. It's a part of the package
It's
deal.
part of the package.
So there's a formula to it. But first it comes from your relationship with Jesus, as
Absolutely.
you said, and then, like you said, finding your passion, and because then you can have integrity in something because you enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So that's so good.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. There was a quote I read in a book, The Principles and Power of Vision. I read a few years ago by Dr. Miles Monroe.
Okay,
the
great.
late Dr. Miles Monroe.
Awesome man of God.
And in there, there was a quote. He said, "The most miserable person on the planet is one who lives life without its purpose, or outside of its purpose, or not knowing its purpose."
Right.
And so, since I read that book, and since I read that quote, I've really been on I started really seeking God. All right, God, what is it that you put me on this planet to accomplish? Because until I'm doing it, I'm not going to be fulfilled. And then the Lord started dealing with me about looking inward, because I already had a relationship with Him. But then the Holy Spirit started teaching me and started showing me, you know, look on the inside. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? And then Psalms 37:4, I have it memorized because I quote it almost every day. I have to remind myself. The Bible says, if you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart.
Right.
And so I personally believe, like you were saying, that when you have a relationship with God and Jesus is your delight, that he instills his desires in there. And then you start asking him according to those desires that he put in there, and that's why he wants to give them to you, because they kind of serve like a GPS system in life, your desires to point you in the right direction. And so would you say it's important then to know what you desire, what you're passionate about? And then how do you even begin to start pursuing? Once you feel like, okay, this is what I really enjoy, what would you say to somebody out there? How would they even begin to start pursuing it?
I say the first place to start is from that place of frustration. Because if you ever come to a place where you're really frustrated, to where you're tired of hitting the wall, now you're ready to start searching a different avenue, different route. You know that place of frustration is a place that nobody really wants to be there, especially when you're trying to make things happen. But once you come to this place of frustration and you become frustrated enough of trying it yourself, because God is perfect in his plan, and then now you'll start to, allow that word where it says that whether you turn to the right or the left, there'll be a voice behind you to tell you this is the way to go. And once you become so frustrated with trying it your way, and now you're ready to try it God's way. And that is something that is, that have really driven me, because I have pastor friends. I have friends that I know that are in ministry, and they have been times they've been frustrated because they don't really know you're preaching, but you don't really know your assignment. And so you're called to preach, but you don't know what you're called to preach, or who you're called to preach to, and what your message should be. So I thank God that in the frustration of ministry, and the frustration of trying to do it, and arguing with God and letting him know that, look, there's 300 churches in this little city. Why you need me? But it wasn't until he woke me up on several occasions and let me know what my assignment was. And so it was in that frustration moments that I had with God where I now said, okay, I'm done. I'm tired of doing it my way. I want to listen. What's your plan? What is it that you want me to do? And then when I got my assignment, I'm like, is there another assignment?
Are you sure, Lord?
Yeah, is there another assignment? This can't possibly be the one. But that place of frustration, it seeks you. It caused you to start seeking for something different. You're tired of it now, and because it's no longer giving you life, it's miserable, and you want to change that. And that's the first place to start. When you get there, because until you're really frustrated with where you are, you're probably never going to really move from that place. So a good place is a place of frustration. When you're frustrated, you're ready to turn and listen and do something different now.
That's so awesome. And just I've even dealt with this, thinking that, like what you said earlier, not everyone's called to be a pastor in a church. We're all called to be witnesses and to, love on people and, and to speak life into people. But that doesn't necessarily have to be in the church,
right?
Because we are the church. And so we go out. And so what would you say to people who are really trying to figure out what they want to do, but also helping them realize that they can be called, but they can be called into the marketplace as well and be just as effective?
Awesome. I love that word marketplace. For the last 5 years, I've been traveling to Chicago to the Missions and Marketplace with Dr. Bill Winston.
That's awesome.
And seeing that there is a difference between the pulpit and the pews, kingship and priesthood, the marketplace. And what I've discovered, and I've seen it happen, where we'll take someone, like you said, that's want to pursue to be a doctor, and we want to turn them into a preacher, but God has called them to be, the medical field, and so you'll bring them to be a preacher in a church, and they may do good, but never be as effective as the work they've been called to and predestined before the foundation of the world. Good. And so that marketplace is very important. So I would tell anyone that if you feel the call, of salvation, great, answer the call. But if you feel the passion to pursue in the medical field, or if you the passion to be an inventor, then that's where the grace of God is at. And where that grace is at, where you'll find there's access and opportunities, and God makes things available where Some people will struggle for 15 years in God because of the grace, because of the divine appointment on your life. For that, God will open the door for you much faster. And I'm able to say that in my own ministry, and that's not to brag on anybody but God. It was the moment that I decided to partner, what I call it, partner with God.
That's right.
And that took the passion that I had, and now me and God is now in partnership. And once I started to partner with him and do it his way, and then he began to open up doors for me, and he began to what it looks like advance our ministry, because there's no way we should be where we are today. Yes. And just set in 7 years, almost finna hit our 8th year. It's just, you shouldn't be here, and I understand that. There's no way I should be here. It doesn't supposed to happen this way. It happens this way because I decided to partner with God, but not just partner with God. I decided to accept what God called me to do. And that means that even if I got to go through the scrutiny of other people, leaders or whatever, because I see that all the time, because I'm called to teach people in the area of faith, family, and finances. And when you get to the finance, they love faith. They want to hear about family. But when you get to the area of finances is where you find your biggest struggle. And Satan has this masterful way of downsizing and maximizing what we talked about earlier. You'll be surprised that you have to be a giver. The most generous people in the world are the most wealthiest people in the world. But when you talk about it in the church, and I don't even know how I got on here. I guess, can I finish it?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, please do, yeah.
Satan has this way of, he'll take something that is so small and blow it up so big. So when you're talking about, in my job, when God gave it to me, and I decided to go ahead, I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to go ahead and teach it. I know people are probably not going to really like it, and I'm going to probably have some people who are going to, come against it. But I'm going to teach people stewardship, teach people finances, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. And then I'll go to the scripture, remind myself, well, Jesus, when the anointing was upon him, all was upon him, the first place he went was to the poor. And so I tell people, I got to go talk to the poor,
That's awesome.
to turn it around, because God wanted balance. But Satan is good at what he does. He takes Eve in the garden. He gets her to focus on one tree. This one tree that she can't have, he magnifies it and makes this one tree about her whole, entire life, and this whole thing about relationship between her and God. He brings it down to one tree. He doesn't tell her, Eve, you got an apricot tree, an orange tree, a kumquat tree. You got so many peach trees. There's pear trees. He doesn't say anything about them. He downplays all of that, but he magnifies this one tree that she seemed to can't have. I told the church, well, he does it well in the church. 1 penny out of a dime, he magnifies that 1 penny and makes that 1 penny so great that they won't give it to God. He make that dime out of $1 so big and make it seem that they need it, they can't depart from it so big. He doesn't allow them to focus on the 90 cent. He makes the $10 so big in the $100, the $100 so big in the $1,000, when at the end of the day, it's really nothing.
That's right.
It's really nothing, but he's good at that. He is really good at what he does, and he drives people away from their what they've been called to, because until you really partner with God, you're kidding yourself if you think you're going to get God's best and you won't share with God what God gives you. And you won't share with the world, because whatever we have, I don't own it.
Come on.
This building, I don't own it. My house I live in, I don't own it. The cars I drive, I don't own it. If he is Lord, which means he owns everything. If I say he's my Lord, that means he owns me. He owns my children. He owns my house. He owns my finances. He owns everything I have. And so that means when he says he wants it, I have to give it to him. And so I'm going to stay in partnership with him, though,
Just
because
a
I like
steward.
it.
It's his.
That's it. I'm just going to watch over what he gives me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Pastor, for the person who's watching, who they're a Christian, they're saved, they've given their life to Jesus Christ. Now they have dreams. They know what their desires are, their passions are. God is starting to speak to them. Okay, now it's time to step out. It's time for you to trust me. But when they look at what they want to accomplish, and then they look at their finances, what they have in the bank account doesn't come nowhere near what they need to accomplish their dream.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to that person that's at that crossroad, or that's looking at that hurdle?
I'll tell them, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So let me testify. I remember like it was yesterday. I was in a bad place financially. I was trying to get my wife through school, and I had lost my job. And a friend of mine called me, and I'm gonna give him his shout out because Larry Hunt, he was my, me and him, we were good friends growing up.
That's
He
awesome.
called me one day. He says, "Hey man, there's a building. You may want to rent it," because I said I was gonna get into washing cars because I needed some income. And so I called the man. He gave me the man number. I called the man. The man decided to meet me at the building. And when I went, that night God had showed me a vision that someone had gave me the money because I knew the building cost was $600. The man already told me I had to give him $600 when I met him. But that night when I went to sleep after talking to the man, God showed me the man gave me $400 and a woman gave me $200. And so when I went to bed that night, I woke up next morning. I'm excited about it. I passed by my bank, and I was tempted to go in, but I didn't. And I went by my mother's house that morning, and she was watching TBN, and Dr. Leroy Thompson was on. And at the end of it, he said, "I don't know who I'm talking to, but don't go look at your bank account." Well, okay. That was good, but I passed back by the bank again, and this time curiosity killed the cat. I turned in because I knew I needed it. He magnified the $600 like I have to have the $600, and so the $600 was huge to me now. And I don't have it. I don't have anything. So I said, well, at least let me go in here and see what I have, what I'm up against. And that was the worst thing I could have ever done because the moment I went in, I saw that $10, which was really $5 because I couldn't take the 10 out. I had to close the account. So I only had $5 really that I could spend. That was $5 to my name. I have a wife now because I'm saved now, and a child. My oldest child was born then. So this $10 looked huge. Like this thing. Like, what am I gonna do now? But I go to the place to meet the man anyway. I'm kind of feeling down in my spirit because I'm like, what I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna tell this man? I'll study praying.
So you have $5, but you're going to purchase a $600 lease, and you're supposed to have it. But the Lord told you go do it.
Yeah, I'm $595 short. But I'm going. Actually, I'm $600 short because I didn't even bother to get the $5. I was too embarrassed to ask for the $5. I was really too embarrassed. But anyway, I went anyway. I met the man, and he said, "Let me go get the receipt book." Because he's ready to collect the money. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? He goes to get his receipt book. He comes back. He can't find the receipt book. So he tells me, he says, I'm going to come back, and I'll collect the money then, and I'll give you a receipt then. I said, okay. And he handed me the keys. I'm like, are you serious? So he walks out the door. I'm peeping out behind him through the blinds, and he leaves. And I'm like, wow. So I went and sat down. I was going for a car wash, but when I went inside the building actually it was set up for a restaurant. So God was giving me a twofold blessing, but I didn't even know it. And I didn't even have the money to do it to start with. And he left, and all of a sudden I'm sitting down, and then somebody see my car, pulls in, and say, hey, they knocked on the door. I opened the door at the place, the business where I was finna lease. And the man said, hey, man, the Lord spoke to me and told me to bless you. And he gave me $400. And so I went home, and when I was sitting home that evening, a lady knocked on the door and said, hey, the Lord told me to bless you. And she gave me the $200. And so you can never look at what you have because Satan will take that $10 like he done me, and that word that God gave me, which framed the world. The word that God gave me, which healed bodies. The word that God gave me, which delivered man, and that caused Lazarus out of a cave. The same word.
That's right.
That God gave me, it's the same power. He didn't downplay it. He didn't dilute it. The same word. But Satan made me look at the $10, and then make me take God's powerful word that I was believing could get me into heaven, but now I'm believing this same word can't get me in this building. So I took that word, put it down here, and put what Satan was trying to tell me up here that this $10 wasn't going to do it. Well, I didn't need the $10 anyway. All I needed was faith. And even though I didn't have as much as I needed, I had enough to go and go to the spot to where God told me to go. And so if you can have enough faith to get to the spot God tells you, and then he'll help the unbelief until you can get to where God said you can stand on your own. And so now today, I can walk out on some water now. I ain't scared now. I done seen him do some stuff now. So what some people call crazy, they is just ordinary living for me. I'll step out on faith because, what I'm going to do, even though that business didn't succeed, I still learned something.
That's right.
I learned that God can keep his word, and he will keep his word. So I would tell whoever, Walk out on faith.
That's
Do
good.
not allow your circumstances nor your situation to dilute the word of God. If God has given you a word and God has given you a promise, you have to do like he tells Habakkuk. It doesn't look like what Habakkuk think God says, Habakkuk, this is what it's going to look like. But God tells Habakkuk, write the vision. Because what you're looking for, it doesn't supposed to look like that. It's only in a process stage. I showed you the ending. And you're looking at somewhere in the middle. The ending is going to come. You just have to wait for it. And so I'll tell anybody, your ending is going to show up. You just have to wait for it.
Come on.
If God said it, there's an ending to it. It won't fail. He won't fail. Man, I'm telling you, I feel the anointing on this. I'm almost ready to run around the church. But he won't fail. He won't fail. He will not fail. I've been in some tight situations. He won't fail. He won't fail me. He won't fail me. He won't fail me. I remember times I laugh at now where I've cried. I literally cried, Lord, you said if you going to do this, why you ain't doing it? I'm just crying like a little baby, just crying. And it's like God just laughing at me like, man, when you get up off that floor and you ready to do something, you call me. And so get up and go walk in faith.
Come on.
And that's the thing my dad
So
told
good.
me. The last real conversation me and my dad had before he actually was killed in a car accident. We wasn't even pastors then. Pastor Lawrence Clemens at Word Harvest, good friend of mine. We were just ministers then, and we were sitting down talking about the message my dad had preached about faith and all this. You got to step out and you got to lunch out, and you can't, God's gonna try every man's faith. We was like, I'm gonna do this before I step out on faith. I'm gonna do that. I'm just naming out everything I was gonna do, and my dad comes into the Huddle House, sits down. He doesn't even know our conversation. And he steps into the prophetic role, and he says, son, Berlans, sweet baby son, that was my nickname. He says, sweet baby son.
Sweet baby son.
He says, son, he says, by faith. He said, there's no way God is going to give you what he's called you to without the exercise of faith, because it is faith that is going to take you to where he's calling you. That's the only way. He said, it would be, he said, I remember he said to me, he said, son, it would be unfair for God to charge me and challenge my faith and to let you ride for free. He said he's not going to do that. He has no respect of person. If it takes me faith and the next man faith, you're going to pay the same price called faith. And so faith is the currency. You better spend it well.
The currency in the
Spend
kingdom.
it well.
Spend
I
it
love
well.
that. That's
Spend
awesome.
it well.
Well, Pastor Frank, thank you so much, man. We're running out of time here. And it's been such a blessing.
Yes.
I'm
Awesome.
telling you, the presence of God is strong right
I
here.
feel
I'm
the morning,
encouraged and stirred up.
That's so awesome.
And I know the Bible says that God's not a respecter of persons. We know what He'll do for one person, what He's done for you and us. He'll do for those who are watching. And so hopefully you all were encouraged tonight.
Yes.
So God bless you, and we'll see you next time at Renovate.